to underground railroads, migration from Selma bridges to Darfur highways, from streets where we march to beats that move us, from the fire of protest to the fire of celebration, of carnival, of junkanoo, of festival, anting anting. If we can't walk, we run. If we can't run, we fly. We make a way to make our way. From hashtags to hand drums, from live streams to living rooms, from Lego streets to London blocks, to every corner we claim as home. Every step, a link. Every link, a lifeline. Everywhere we go, there we are, as we've always been.
I like to badger audiences, so I'm going to do this again. Good afternoon, everybody. There we go. That sounds better. Thank you, everyone, for being here and joining us on this Sunday. I know the weather is not as nice as it was yesterday, but we are here, and y'all look good, so give yourselves a hand. Dang, I'm going to have to shake them up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Oh, come on now. All right. I'm extremely delighted to welcome you all to the 77th episode of the ADAMA Arts Salon series. 77, y'all. We started this program during the pandemic in 2020 on Zoom, connecting with artists, curators, scholars, and others from around the world in conversation around the state of Black art and culture. And we've continued this program now here in person. It's being streamed live online, and so you guys are a part of a huge audience and a huge continuation of a vision. My name is Dr. Fahamu Paku. I'm the founder and executive director of the African Diaspora Art Museum of Atlanta, also known as ADAMA, and thrilled again to welcome you all here. We host this art salon here at Pittsburgh Yards alongside exhibitions and other creative projects throughout the year. We're also pleased to share that our current exhibition, The African Game, which is currently on view here, will be on view until July 25th, and we hope that you will get a chance to experience it during your visit. Just a little bit about the exhibition. It's a project by photographer and filmmaker Andrew Dosunmu. And through the lens of his camera, he is able to capture the African game and shift the focus from the pitch to the fans, capturing Africa's deep passion for football. Shot across multiple countries, the exhibition unveils football as a language of connection and celebration of community. With a cinematic perspective, Dosunmu presents football as a ritual and a shared devotion, creating an archive of contemporary Africa alive with joy, resilience, and spirit. And now to introduce our panelists. First of all, I'm going to need y'all to give me a little bit more energy. Because we have a really, really brilliant panel today, and this is our final ADAMA Salon of the season, right? So we'll be on hiatus until the fall, and I want everybody, we have a beautiful crowd, you guys look great, and I want everybody to have a good time today. You're in for a really, really special treat. We have today panelists Patrick Eugène and moderator Delotch Davis. I'll read their bios for you. Yes, there you go, that's what I'm talking about, yeah. Patrick Eugène was born in Brooklyn. He's a Haitian American painter known for his large-scale compositions that center figures which evoke a quiet, contemplative stillness. His works bridge figuration and abstraction while maintaining a signature fluidity. Recent solo exhibitions include Solitude at Mariane Ibrahim in Paris and 50 Pounds at Mariane Ibrahim in Chicago. His work has been presented nationally and internationally in major exhibitions at Blum Poe in Los Angeles, MOCAA in Cape Town, Liljevalchs Konsthall in Stockholm, and the Metropolitan Museum of Manila. He's received numerous honors, including the 2025 New York City Council Citation for Artistic Excellence and recognition as the Creative 100 honoree by Qatar Airways and the Dean Collection. His work is held in collections of the High Museum, the Mead Art Museum in Amherst, and the Dean Collection. His work is also in permanent collections of LACMA and the Hirshhorn Museum in Washington, D.C. Y'all give it up for Patrick Eugène. And moderating today is the one and only Delotch Davis, Executive Director of SCAD FASH Museum of Fashion and Film in Atlanta, as well as Lacoste, France. She leads exhibition development, marketing, fundraising, and strategic direction for SCAD FASH Lacoste, and Atlanta exhibitions. Her career spans senior roles in marketing and public relations at Cadillac, Bloomingdale's, as well as the City of Atlanta's Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs. As a SCAD alumnus with an MA in Luxury and Fashion Management, Delotch Davis has more than 15 years of experience in cultural strategy, working at the intersection of fashion, art, and global markets, and she's super fly. She has developed high-impact exhibitions and cultural experiences for luxury brands and arts institutions, expanding Cadillac's presence at global events like Art Basel Miami and driving brand engagement for Bloomingdale's through community partnerships and events. She currently serves as the board president for the Atlanta Center for Photography and is a member of the Mayor's Arts Advisory Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to edition 77 of the ADAMA Salon, and I'll let you guys take it away.
Thank you, Fahamo, for that introduction. We're an amazing audience. It's nice to have a full room for this conversation. Patrick and I have been commenting about how much this feels like just a gathering of friends and feels like our living room. So that's what we're going to do. I have a ton of questions. I don't know if you know this, but you are one of my favorite artists.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Really, it does. Thank you.
So I'm excited to talk to you. So we'll talk a bit, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. But I think about the first time that I saw your work was at T5. I think it was 2 years ago, and it was an exhibition of American masters. And it was this beautiful booth, and there were paintings from the floor to the ceiling, and your piece was on the top left, and it really stood out in that space. But also to see your work sitting amongst the other artists as an exhibition of masters and a masters of portraiture, did you ever think that you would be sitting in that kind of place?
Well, first off, thank you everyone for having me here. And again, to echo, this does feel like family and hanging out in the living room somewhere. So this is really cool to speak in such a warm space. None of it was expected, none of this. And sitting in front of you guys here, doing this internationally in a way, supporting my family through the arts, none of this was expected. So that, again, every time something like this happens, it just kind of like, it humbles me in a way where I just take it back to the beginning, in this apartment in Brooklyn, and not knowing the difference between acrylic paint and oil paint. And to see the piece amongst some of the people that I've studied. I'm self-taught, so I had to teach myself everything, right? Just seeing my pieces amongst those artists, it's a humbling experience. I'm a spiritual man, so I feel like it was destined to be there in a way, and God has my back.
So back to the beginning, you grew up in Brooklyn to Haitian parents. What was your upbringing like?
Oh man, it was a Caribbean upbringing, right? So I had to become a doctor, really. I had no choice.
It was so disappointed.
Yeah. It was one of the scariest moments when I told them I wanted to do this full time. But we grew up. So I was born in Brooklyn. I stayed there up until like my high school years, and then we moved out to Long Island, which is a little bit away. It's a little further out east of the city. Parents were trying to get away from the hoopla that was going on in Brooklyn at that time. It wasn't the safest place to be, right? I have a brother and two sisters, and I, again, being a child of two Haitian immigrants, school was very important, so my dad's an engineer, my mom's a nurse practitioner. They made sure that we were in our books and studied, and I wasn't like the best in school. I was kind of had this rebellious thing about me. I grew up making a lot of music. I had a production company with a bunch of friends. And so my dad was like, oh boy, here we go, right? And so it wasn't rap though, it was R&B, so it was kind of.
It was okay.
Yeah, it was okay, it wasn't rap.
You can listen to it.
Yeah. And so I guess that's where my creative journey began, doing that. I grew up in a household full of music. My dad is a big Haitian music connoisseur. He had a library of records that we listened to. My mother collected a lot of Haitian art, so I saw art on the walls every day. Didn't really think much of it. It was just my environment. And yeah, you know.
And what was the first plan? Was the first plan for you to be an engineer?
So when I was born, I was ordained to be a doctor, right? And then I went to school and I realized, okay, he's not really going to be a doctor, right? And so I went to school for marketing. I went to Hofstra University in Long Island and graduated in Hofstra and ended up working in finance somehow and worked for JP Morgan. And it wasn't my thing. You know, I did it. I was trying to appease my parents. I wore a nice suit every day. I had to go up to Wall Street multiple times a week. And, you know, it was nice for them. They got to brag about that, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, my wife now, who was my girlfriend at the time, used to kind of see my face when I got home or waking up early and getting dressed. And she was like, this is not you. This is not who you are. And I knew it was paying the bills, right? And so I kept doing it.
Was she the first person to say it to you, or had you?
I think she's the only one that I allowed to see me in that state. You know, I would get to work and I would put on the act, right?
Yeah.
One thing, I never really said this out loud, but I started to like intentionally grow my hair, right, in a way that they would maybe like fire me, maybe. Like I just like, you know, I just started to grow out like natural locks, right? So I had like natural locks and I would wear my suit and like it started to like kind of hang over my face and stuff. I like wipe my face over just to speak to someone and that was the beginning of it, right? And I was just like, this is not me, you know.
Did they say anything?
You know, managers say what they had to say, and I was like, yeah, you know, you should probably do something about it. You know, I was kind of like that kind of person, right?
Okay.
At that time, you know, I did have my one son, so I was trying to be responsible and make sure that you know, I wasn't messing up my financial situation. But there was something in me, you know, growing up making music. It was just anti everything I was about. It was during Wall Street, the Occupy Wall Street movement. So I'd walk out and I would see people protesting, and I'm like, man, am I the enemy? Like this is not me, right? And I don't know. I try my hardest to remember what triggered me to walk into an art store.
Okay.
But there was a moment where I was like, I need something to do to offset the pressure of this day job.
And this is before COVID. This is
before.
lockdown.
Yeah, this is I'm 41 now. I was 27 at the time, and I walked into the art supply store and again didn't know the difference about, you know, what was acrylic, what was oil. I kind of asked them for the starter kit, like, what do you guys have here?
And you were just, because music had been your outlet up to that point, so you were just thinking, maybe I'll do this. Yeah,
maybe I'll just do a visual as a creative like outlet, and I could draw a little bit, you know, and so. When I was at work, I would draw at my desk, and colleagues would come by and say, "Yeah, you can actually draw." I'm like, you know. So that may have been what triggered me, like trying to explore it a little bit more. And yeah, I just started painting, and I spent maybe 4 or 5 hours in this back room that we had. And my wife was like, "You haven't eaten anything. You haven't said anything." I was like, "Wait, hold on. I've never experienced this before." That was just
happening naturally. You weren't even aware of time anymore.
I had no clue about anything. Like, honestly, I didn't know anything about the art world. I was just kind of just doing it, right? And she was like, "You were in there for a while. You didn't eat dinner." And my wife's a chef, so if I'm not eating dinner, there's something wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, or something great is happening. And that was it. That was the beginning of it. I never turned back from that one day. I posted that piece on Instagram. It's now archived because I had to clean it up a little bit. And it's not the greatest piece in the world. But
what was it a picture of?
So it was a picture of this blue man trapped in a red world. Yeah. And I guess it was my story, right?
Did you know that then, or do you look back?
Now that I look back at it, you know, I was like, okay, that meant a lot at the moment. I didn't know what I was doing, you know.
What's the first piece you sold?
Man, first piece I sold was for $50, and I did a cartwheel down the hallway.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And it was a portrait. At that time, I used very bright colors. It was a portrait of a woman, and someone who saw it on Instagram was like, "Hey, can I come by and buy that?" I was like, "You want to come to East New York, Brooklyn? You sure you want to do that?" Everybody knows where East New York, Brooklyn is, right? But yeah, okay, all right. So you want to come to East New York? Right. So you want to come to East New York and then buy a painting from this stranger? I'm like, sure. You know, I made sure my wife was there. She came in.
She was going to protect you. Is that okay?
Just make sure I was protected, right? And then she bought the piece and walked out, and it was just like that, And I'm still in touch with this woman, and she's watched the whole journey. But things like that continue to happen, and it was just a testament to sticking to this energy that was just pulling me in that direction.
Was there ever a point where you felt like, okay, now I'm an artist?
It took me almost 10 years to call myself an artist.
Okay.
I just had this utmost respect for artists, right? And I was just like, hey, listen, this feels good, this is cool, I'm creating, but there are people that really dedicate their lives to this, right? And I just didn't feel like I deserved that title yet. And I don't know if that's the right or wrong way to look at it. I just didn't feel like I deserved to call myself an artist publicly, It did only take me 6 months to quit my job after that.
6 months from the first sale?
From the first painting, yeah.
From the first painting. Yeah, claps for that. And so what made you feel like it was time for that?
Well, thankfully I came from an industry that kind of taught me how to manage my money in a certain
how about that?
So, it was a leap, but
But you had a cushion.
Yeah, I secured myself, but I just knew I couldn't do that anymore, right? And so whether this was something like an interim or it was going to last forever, I didn't know. I just knew that I needed a break. And that break allowed me to kind of dive into this practice. I didn't call it a practice at that time, but my practice a lot longer and spend days and days. And thankfully I had support, she's my wife for a reason. She held me down. She held me down and she said, I think, and she said it, she's the first person to say it, and I thought she was crazy because 6 months in, she's like, you're going to support us with this art one day, so it doesn't matter. I was like, okay, sure, right? And being self-taught, I just took that time to, I lived in New York, so I went to all the museums, went to every opening I can go to, watched every documentary, read every book. I had a lot of catching up to do. I didn't go to school for this, right? And at that time, abstract expressionism was all I was focused on.
I was going to ask you, so it wasn't portraiture, and I'm sure all of you have seen Patrick's work, but it's a lot of portraiture in a way that I feel is really elegant. I asked you the first time we talked that I had assumed there was a reference to Modigliani and kind of that impressionist period, but you weren't always doing portraits.
No, so I started off with portraits because it's kind of like the academic way of getting into it. It's like, okay, I'm going to draw a face, and see if I can actually do that. And so they were a little bit more lifelike, very colorful, but I was making sure that anatomy was as perfect as I can get it. And then, after visiting the MoMA 30 times, it's like, okay, what is this abstraction thing? I didn't really understand. How does someone evoke emotion without actually portraying something, right? Or giving you all the information. And I just dove into it. I studied it, and I tried to figure it out. And I started experimenting. And being in New York City, there's a lot of assemblage. There was a lot of experimentation. It was a lot of I didn't have a voice. I was just trying everything, right? But I fell in love with the process of making it, right? And whether it was sellable or if honestly, I'm gonna keep it real with you. We weren't really buying abstract work, that much at that time. So those that were supporting it were actually white folks and people outside of my area that were supporting the work.
And how were they finding you? They were finding you on social media?
Social media was great at the time.
Okay.
The algorithm actually worked, and so.
So now we're in 2020?
No, 2020, no, not 2020, no. This is 2016.
2016, okay.
When did Instagram come out? The first year Instagram came out.
Okay, so this is pre social media.
Yeah. And so, they were buying works from all over the country. And there's this couple out in Portland who just supported me, I didn't know why, but they were just so into supporting me, and they would just keep on buying my works, and eventually flew me out to Portland. And
did you take your wife with you?
Nah,
okay.
I didn't. I don't know. It was just a lot scary to East New York. I don't know. It was Portland. I was like, I'll be all right. You know what I mean? It's Portland, right? And so I went out to Portland, and Mike, he'll be excited to hear his name being said out loud, but he's an artist at heart and had the means to have a beautiful studio, which he had an issue figuring out how to use properly himself. And then he felt that he had a passion with helping others achieve their goals. And so I learned how to use oil paint in his studio. And his wife, Sarah, amazing.
So he was an artist, but he was investing in you as an artist.
He was
as
investing
well.
in me as an artist.
Wow. Okay.
He just saw something in me. He was like, "You're going to take this to another level," and he gave me all his materials. Again, he had the means to, so he would just fill up a studio with materials I couldn't afford at the time, and just kind of teach me what was the right way and wrong way of using these materials. And we're still like I speak to him almost daily now, you know. And that gave me the confidence to say, okay, there are people out there that are going to be true patrons and are going to support me along the way, whether they look like me or not. I mean, that's an act of love that I haven't experienced in that way, right? It's a complete stranger doing this for me. Yeah. And, you know, doing that for maybe 3 years, going back and forth between New York and Portland.
That's really interesting because I think we all have a lot of conversations now about patronage and philanthropy and what it means to support artists, right? So there's the transaction, right, buying the art. Mm-hmm. But what you're describing is another level that's not uncommon actually in the market, right? Is that these collectors find artists that they really feel passionately about and invest in through whatever mechanisms. What have you seen in addition to your experience, and how important do you think that is?
Oh, it's extremely important. I mean, even to this moment right now, you know, I don't know how many of you know Hassan Smith, but he's a great collector out here in Atlanta, and he's been imperative, you know, to some of the success I've recently had, and he's just you know, he collects with his heart. You know, if he rocks with you, he rocks with you. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But it's important. I mean, we don't, you know, it's such a subjective thing, and this world is so finicky, and, you know, prices go up and down, and people are, you know, trends come, they try to bottle us up into trends. Like, so I do paint, you know, portraiture, right? They try to bottle me up into a trend, like, hey, this is gonna end. It's over for this now, right? And if you don't have the support and the people that are behind you to push you along and just give you that confidence, you can sometimes just give up, you know, and say, hey, listen, you know, the world's moved on from this. Or you can like jump, you know, you can kind of jump on the bandwagon, but that's not my style. But having that support from collectors is more important than anyone realizes. I mean, it's super important. And it's not just the financial portion of it. Collectors have access to worlds that you're not able to go to. I mean, my first gala was with a collector, you know. I couldn't afford a table, you know, I couldn't afford a seat there. And so these kind of relationships are important, and it's always been throughout history. And I think, you know, within our community, we're starting to see it a lot more. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's talk about the work. So you had your abstract period, then you moved back to portraiture. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the characters in your work. About a year ago, we did an exhibition at SCAD FASH for a photographer named Campbell Addy. He's a Ghanaian photographer from the UK, and he titled the exhibition "The Stillness of Elegance." And he said because he wanted to show us as elegant, we don't often get to have that word and that idea associated with us in our culture and the way that we're presented. And I think that's a lot of what you do is so romantic and really beautiful. And so I'm curious, who are the characters and why do you portray them the way that you do?
Yeah, so I mean, to speak a little bit about the transition from abstraction to figurative works, there was a spiritual thing tied to my abstract work that I've carried over. I didn't experience that until I explored abstraction, right? So before, again, it was all academic, trying to get the faces to look accurate. But then when you get in that flow state, when you're in that moment, when you're, you know, when this piece is just speaking to you, nothing else really matters, right? And I told myself I'll get back to representing my people when that process felt the same way, when it felt spiritual, when it felt like it wasn't forced, right? And so I started experimenting again with figurative works. But I didn't want to use photo references. I kind of wanted these people to appear on their own. And with that comes a short limb or like a missing eye or whatever it may be, like, you know, and there was beauty in that, right? And then being of Haitian descent, my parents, my dad wanted me to wear slacks in high school, like public school, right? And I was like, thank God my mom was into fashion. She was like, nah, man, he's gonna get jumps. Like, you gotta chill, right? And so,
you can't wear slacks in Brooklyn.
Yeah. So I would just sneak out the house in my other outfit. But, you know, They presented themselves in a very, they still do in a very elegant way.
Your parents.
Yeah, my parents, my grandparents, and I thought that was a great way to fight against this narrative, right, of being Haitian American, right? Back in their generation had to fight a lot more than I did, but, they used to get beat up in New York City, right? Clothes weren't matching, things weren't flowing right. And I just felt like I needed to honor them and their sense of class and their pride, because the world is actually doing the opposite, right? And I'm sure everyone in this room now, especially in this setting, knows the history of Haiti and how important it is to our people, especially on this side of the world. I wanted to make sure that I was portraying them with the pearls around their necks, with the posture, and the confidence and the resilience that they carry almost every day, right? And so with that, naturally came images of people dressed that way in my pieces. Again, it's very spiritual for me, right? And so there are times where I sit in the studio and I just thank them for showing up, right? It's just, I don't know who you are, but I know we have met before and we've had a conversation before, and thank you for allowing me to be the vessel to portray you here, right? And that's literally what I do every day. And it's, I don't think I'll ever leave this medium in a way, because it's opened me up spiritually, it's opened my family up spiritually. There's so much that's happening along this journey that's unexplainable, right? I can't explain it. The people I've met, the doors that have opened up, I do know that it's just beyond me, right? And so I feel blessed to do it this way. And I think the pieces kind of resonate with people when they stand in front of them, and they can feel that.
Have you ever had anybody challenge it? Have you ever had anybody question your casting and your choices and your paintings?
No. It's funny because not going to school for this, I'm like, where's my, I need that, right? I need someone to tell me that this sucks, right? Yeah. And I was asking for it for a long time, and of course there's critics. I mean, there's people that, not everyone's gonna love my work, everyone has their own taste. No one's been brave enough to say it to my face though, but I'm sure they talk, right? And so, no, there hasn't been much of a challenge. I think, getting into this fine art world that is sort of gatekept, right? The fact that I didn't go to school for this, the fact that I don't really rock with certain circles, I'm not really trying to kiss anybody's butt to fit in. There may be some pushback in certain places, but I mean, I don't care. I'm 41 years old, I don't give a damn about that. Yeah.
Got you. I appreciate that too.
Yeah.
Required.
Right.
So one of the things that excites me now about your work is kind of seeing where you're taking it. And you were talking about it earlier about adding a three-dimensional quality to it. Mm-hmm. And when I see that, and when I hear you talking about it, it reminds me of there's an artist, I think his name is Khalil Joseph, but I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about heirlooms, and that our generation have to make our own heirlooms because things were not passed down. And so his practice is about making heirlooms. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm looking at your work now and you're getting into the frame and kind of like building up the story, right, beyond the 2D surface, it makes me think about heirlooms and legacy and kind of making it the paintings feel even more substantial in terms of being objects to pass down. Yeah. So I wanted to hear from you kind of how much are you thinking about legacy? As much as you're looking to ancestors, how much are you thinking about what you leave for your children? Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing here. I mean, I have 4 boys, 3 of them are under 5 years old. They're huge. I clap for that. I don't know, the moms go, what? Yeah. I mean, they're a huge part of my success right now. They really are. I mean, I've always had a drive, but seeing them every day, I mean, it adds an extra battery in my back. The frames, which I'm calling furniture frames for now, they remind me of the furniture I saw in my mother's home, the furniture I saw in my grandmother's home, the ones that you couldn't sit on, the ones that you couldn't touch. There's an element of it that creates this piece that feels more three-dimensional, that is easier to pass down, right, to pass on. And so I'm building these frames that remind me of the interior space, the objects that were in the interior space that feel like home, right? Many of my portraits are based in a interior space, like a very warm space, maybe in solitude or maybe amongst other groups of people.
like family, but I'm picking shapes, I'm designing shapes that feel like some of these objects I saw my whole entire life, and I think we can all kind of relate to them. There's also like a cathedral type of vibe going on with them. I grew up in Catholic church. My mother, I did all of it, the whole thing, communion, confession, all that stuff, right? And so they kind of like leave an implant in my brain, and so those shapes and those forms are always there, right? And so I think when I'm designing these things, they just kind of naturally come out. But yeah, I'm looking to make sure I can hand off my kids something solid. These pieces are painted on panel rather than canvas, a little bit more durable, They're hefty, they're heavy, there's a weight to them, Mm-hmm.
And now you live in Atlanta.
Now I live in Atlanta. Yeah.
How long have you been in Atlanta?
6 years.
6 years. Okay, so all the boys were born in Atlanta? They're from Atlanta now? Okay. Seeding the next generation.
I love the city, but I'm still a New Yorker, so we take frequent trips. Yeah. I need some of the slang to match some of my slang.
Yeah. And you got to make sure they know about the Knicks. And
I mean, of course. I mean, I didn't want to bring that up here. I know it's kind of soon. But
scratch that.
Yeah.
What made you move to Atlanta?
So my wife has family here. This is the only place in the country, really, that we have other family, right? Everyone's in New York. We're just like all New Yorkers. And we would visit. And I was like, this is nice. I mean, this is, we can actually buy a home, and I can get a studio that's more than like 100 square feet, right? And, we would visit and, just taking trips, like taking the tour, like the Martin Luther King tour and stuff like that. I'm like, wow, there's such a rich history here, right? And it's kind of relatable to my Haitian history, like the country. And I'm like, there's a fight here, there's community here, there's something different. And in New York, I was one amongst so many, right? And I have a great artist community in New York. I love them. We did a lot together. But I just felt like it was a time to move away and create somewhere else, right? And so we would take like long trips here first. I would paint out of like her family's like apartments or homes, destroy some rooms, and then we eventually said, hey, listen, let's take a leap and let's just go. The career wasn't where it was at that time. I didn't really have much, right? I just knew it was a place that I wanted to be, and this city has fed so much into my practice, into my family. My career didn't get to where it's at until I moved to Atlanta. Yeah.
What was the flip? When did the flip switch? Mm-hmm. Right, did I say that right?
The switch flip. Mm-hmm.
So you said the practice wasn't what it was before you came here, but was there something that happened? Was there a connection that you made? What was that movement?
Well, the first thing was COVID. I mean, I got here right before COVID hit, right? And we couldn't do anything. And we didn't know anybody really. And I got a studio at the Go Farm, and it was just my place, my safe place to go and hang out and work, because there's no one really around. And that allowed me to really just meditate on my practice and figure out what I was doing. Because prior to moving to Atlanta, I was still in abstract mode.
Oh, really?
So
you didn't return to the portrait
until I got here.
Until you got here. Okay.
Yeah. So there was a lot of experimentation, a lot of inconsistencies. Just trying everything, right? It wasn't until I slowed down and I came here. First story, really, we moved into an apartment up in Vinings, and I was painting out a dining room. My wife was like, yeah, this experimental stuff, like, it's a little messy, And so I was like, all right, yeah, it is. Let me get an easel. Let me try to put something on the easel and paint like this nice portrait, right? And the first portrait I painted was of her, right? And we hung it up, and I was like, yeah, this is cool, but I need to go larger. I need to feel free, and so I got the space at the Go Farm, and I guess I don't know if it was a lack of human connection or the need for that kind of got me back into portraiture. I just wanted to paint people and tap into that spiritually, right? And that's where it evolved. And the art world kind of opened up to me at that point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, how am I doing on time? We're good. So at SCAD FASH Museum of Fashion and Film, we have an exhibition for Dior. And I was really excited when I found out we were getting the show. And the one thing that I asked for on every call was the bag room, and Patrick Eugene's work needs to be in that room.
Right.
And so if you haven't been to the exhibition, it's very prominently placed, your bag that you did with Dior above Von Spans, and in the same room with Faith Ringgold and Micheline Thomas, and it's really cool space to be. But I'm fascinated, one, on this relationship between fashion and fine art that's happening more and more. I want to hear about like how this collaboration came to be for you.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time out in Paris recently working for a gallery out there, Mariane Ibrahim, and she has a really good relationship with Dior and their people. And so they've been collecting my works for the last couple of years.
Did you know that before the relationship, the
Dior,
opportunity?
the bag? Yeah, so like I get like a sales report, and I get to like Google people's names. I do that all the time, just like who's buying my work, right? And so there were a couple executives on the Dior team that were collecting my work.
Got it.
Yeah, and when this opportunity came up, they were just like, hey, listen, we think you'd be a good fit for this. And I don't know if you guys remember, was it last year? There was a snowstorm that kind of like shut the city down.
This
that
city?
That little sprinkle that we had. Yeah, it was several feet, sure. Yeah. Well, they flew in from Paris that same day, right? First time in Atlanta. And they're like, wow, you guys have a big winter storm here. I'm like, yeah, bro, you guys just came at the wrong day. But they came to the Go Farm and sat down with me for hours. This is after I designed the bags. And they got stuck in a storm and they had to spend an extra day. So we got to like kind of vibe out a little bit more. But yeah, they reached out. I made a bunch of sketches, submitted the sketches, and only thought they were going to make one. They ended up making three bags, which was really cool. And they flew over all these materials, like suitcases full of materials to match or to support my idea. And
the materials were for you just to play with in the studio?
just to
like
play
kinda-
with,
okay.
yeah. Based on what I submitted, and so like I used a lot of raffia in the bags, which is used in the Caribbean. And they brought different versions of that. And the bags are titled the Pearl of the Antilles, right? And that's what Haiti was referred to during colonialism, right? And it wasn't to benefit the people of Haiti, it was to benefit those that were taken from the land. And so they called it, they had this beautiful term, the Pearl of the Antilles. It's the Pearl of the Antilles. I mean, like, wow, right? I want to take that back, so it's mine. You guys are Dior, you're French, right? And so we're going to have a conversation, right? And so, yeah. And so, thank you, yeah. And so I submitted an essay. They didn't ask me to do any of this. I submitted an essay of why it was important to me. I submitted numerous images of a beautiful Haiti, right? What people were wearing, how they carried themselves. And then I sent my sketches in, and they're like, wow, we have to do this. And I was shocked, I didn't know how they were going to receive it, but they received it really, really well. So I'm going to give that to Dior. They received it really well. And they came with the materials, supported it. It took about a year for everything to be like produced and made. And then we went on a really cool like tour around the bags, yeah.
Did you meet any of the other artists that have ever been in the program? So
Yeah.
if you don't know, this program has been around for 10 years, and there have been 100 artists. Every year they select 10 artists, and there have been 100 artists over 10 years who have participated in the program, making this bag in the style of their art form. And so we're showing 30 American artists that have participated in the program, but there have
Yeah.
been so many.
Yeah. I've gotten a chance to, I've known a lot of the artists prior to, and so we get to kind of like compare bags and stuff, it's a competition at the end of the day. All right, and so, but yeah, it's been great. This year they chose 2 American artists, which was, I'm really honored to be part of one of that, and Jessica Cannon, who actually used pearls as well in her bag up in New York. And so we met at a fashion week in Paris. They invited us out to a show and we met, which was really cool. But they were great from beginning to end. They flew my wife and I out there. My oldest son, who's 20, got a week's worth of Dior clothes to wear and take home with him. Yeah, I didn't get as much as he did. And he's
benefits.
yeah, he looks like more like a model. So like they like really dressed him down, and so it's been great. I thought the campaign was kind of over, but we're doing more. We're doing a talk here in Atlanta at the Dior store, which I would love to see you guys at. The bags being in the exhibition was a pleasant surprise. I didn't know that was going to happen. Yeah, so it's been a great journey. It's been fun.
Speaking of other luxury brands, you have so much going on. You, your work is in the Audemars Piguet house that they just opened up in Atlanta. How did that project come about?
Yeah, just through relationships. Like, I mean, I don't have APs, but I like APs, you know, and so like, you know, so I've met a couple people at AP, and just through discussion, and it was a surprising email, you know, like, hey, we're actually coming to Atlanta. I was like, wow, that's amazing, and we'd love to have your work in there. I thought it was going to be amongst other artists, but it happens to be the only works in there.
Your work is the only work in the AP house in Atlanta.
Yeah, only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's next?
Man, so like, you know, this public speaking thing is kind of new to me, right?
You're doing really good. I haven't said too much of anything.
But you know, like Dior got me like they had me working, like they had me working. And so I did a lot of talks. I was traveling quite a bit, and it's been refreshing to just kind of be home and in the studio, hanging out with the kids. You know, we have a couple art fairs coming up. We're doing Basel, Switzerland. I think it's next month. So I'll be doing that. There's a group exhibition in New York happening next month as well with Karen Jenkins Johnson. But other than that, I'm kind of like just chilling and trying to develop this practice and take it to another level. There's some surprises, some other galleries that I'm going to be partnering with, doing some exhibitions internationally. But for now, I'm just trying to like evolve the practice as much as I can and make sure I don't miss like those special moments with these little boys. So I kind of like play like I'm an artist and stay-at-home dad at the same time. I'm just doing a little bit of both, yeah.
Nice. Nice. So I think, are we opening it up for questions?
Hello. How would you, I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget it. How would you describe the inherent value in art to someone who maybe just doesn't value it at all, the way that we do at least?
Yeah, I think just in general, being able to live with someone's creation and having that intimate experience with it is just a language that I think we all, and a muscle that we all need to develop a bit more, right? And appreciate, right? And so, you know, yeah, we're all wearing fly clothes. It's, you know, there's a designer that made that, right? Although it's a big brand, right? And so that vision, you know, it came from their brain, you know, it came from their spirit. And I think there's something just so beautiful about that. I mean, this space, and what Fahamu's done here, this is his creation, right? To be able to be in here. And so art comes in all forms, as cliche as that sounds, right? As far as the, you know, the painting, or, you know, if we're specifically talking about visual art in that sense, I'm the type of guy, when I go to a museum, I'm getting like this close until they tell me to back up, right? Because I want to see the brush fibers. I want to see where they may have made a mistake and corrected themselves. I want to see that process. And the more you live with other people's arts, you get to realize that you have someone's creation frozen in time in front of you, right? And so, you know, the beauty of it, we get to read about these artists. We get to like understand their stories. And it's like, wow, like I had a moment in this person's time hanging with me the rest of my life or my kid's life, right? And if they're speaking of something powerful, something that speaks to your soul, I don't think there's anything more beautiful than that, really, you know?
Hey, sorry. My name is Charles. I'm curious to know about your insight about art ecosystems. So with you coming from New York and then now being here in Atlanta and, you know, obviously Paris and it's just all over, what do you think about, what are your thoughts about the Atlanta scene in particular, but comparing them to others?
Yeah, I mean, coming from New York, obviously, it's two different worlds, right? Just meeting everyone and greeting everyone and seeing everyone again and again and again has been the most beautiful part of this journey here in Atlanta, right? The community is fairly small in comparison to a New York City or Paris, right? But it's powerful, and it's supportive, and it's us. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, honestly. Like, you know, I create here because the energy that the city gives me, right? I think the ecosystem is important, right? As we continue to build these institutions and these spaces for us to communicate and have these conversations, It's important. Sometimes it gets lost in New York, honestly. It gets lost in Paris. It gets lost in these mega cities that are really focused on the wrong parts of it, right? And everyone's trying to be someone they're not. Not everyone, but there are a lot of people trying to be people that they're not, right? I feel this feels genuine, and anyone can reach out to me at any time here in Atlanta. People know my studio doors are pretty much open. If you want to come through, come through. I mean, maybe in like an hour or so, but not all day, you know what I'm saying? But just come through and kick it, you know what I mean? And that wasn't necessarily New York. Everyone's on the move, everyone's like this, and it's like, if you can come in here, if I let you in, you're invited. But I feel like the city's not meant for that, we have a story to tell. There are people coming in from all over the diaspora and calling Atlanta a home, and we have some really important stories to tell, right? And we got to share amongst each other. I don't know if that answered your question, but.
Hi. So I'm curious. Your work, I think of art as like a excavation process. Like you're taking something from within and putting it out into the world. And so I'm curious about what are the things that fill you back up. I know you talked about your family. Mm-hmm. Like, do you still make music? What are some other ways you fill yourself? Oh,
that's a great question. Family's always number one. Yeah, family's number one. That's really, nothing compares to that, right? I'm a big music head. My best friends are still all in music, right? And so my studio is always lively with music. I used to be into film until I had 3 babies and I just fall asleep now. But that was a big thing, film and reading. Not as much nowadays, but just traveling with the family and just, having conversations like this, going to other artist talks, really having deep, I have the honor and the pleasure of really getting a chance to have conversations with some of my idols in this, some of the people that have paved the way are now opening up their doors to me. And so I'm privileged enough to have these type of conversations with them. And so they're schooling me on how to go about the business side of things, but also how to stay true to who I am, And so I think those conversations are what keep filling the voids, if any.
Hey, y'all. I'm back here. Hey.
Hi.
So you talked about like your experimentation phase and transition from abstraction to portraits. Like, how did you know, like, this is what I want to do. This is the direction. Because I find myself feeling stuck. Like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it took a long time. It took a long time of doing it. But particularly painting a piece that felt like it was looking back at me and was having a conversation with me was the deal. It was done at that moment. And I remember exactly when that happened, right? It was at the Goat Farm, and I was painting a portrait, and I had the whites in the eye, and something told me to wipe away the whites in the eye and minimize and just get minimal, just a line. And there was so much more emotion with that being out of it, right? I'm like, how is that? You would think that I would need the full eye to get that gaze. But once I removed that portion of it, it just felt, it just fed my soul. I was like, okay, you're here with me for real, right? And at that point, I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm going to continue to do. And the features, the facial features are the last part of my process, right? So I treat the background of the piece as an abstract piece, and then I layer on top, right? And the last touch are the facial features. And that's when I get to say thank you for showing up at that moment, right? It's like, okay, you're here. Like, we're in this room together. And so for me personally, that was the moment for me. But it takes a lot of experimentation. And I think what happens, and especially in today's world, when we get like this very instant gratification of being able to share our work, whether it's social media or a text message or whatever it is, we're not allowing ourselves to really continue to explore until that thing that gives you goosebumps kind of like happens, right? It's like, yeah, this is a beautiful piece, and I know they're gonna like it, and they'll probably pay for it, right? And then we get stuck in that, right? And that's one thing I'm always experimenting. I never stop experimenting, but if it doesn't move me, I'm not gonna do it, right? And I think that was the moment, just having that one piece stand out, and it told me, all right, you need to stick with us for a little bit and continue to do this.
So good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
I
brother.
wanted to ask you, as a self-taught artist, when did you know and feel like you was ready to share your work with the public? And then also, what was your first exhibit like for you emotionally?
Oh, wow. Thanks for the question. So my first piece I ever painted was plastered on Instagram instantly. So I don't know. Like, I was just like, hey, here's the image of what I'm doing, right? But on a serious level, it wasn't until I created this about 20 pieces that all felt like they were in unison, right? They were telling a story. And that story was gentrification in Brooklyn, right? And it was an abstraction. It was all abstraction. And what I did is I went around to all the areas where they were building, and I would get like drop cloth or tarps and like ask for them or just grab them and run, right? And I would, they would be dirty and they're filthy, and I would take it back to the studio and I would create these abstract works, and I titled that whole series Deconstruction, right? I was in East New York, Brooklyn, and they called it the last frontier. They're like, if East New York gets gentrified, there's no more Brooklyn for us. It's over, right? We're putting up a fight in East New York for sure. It's not really happening as quickly as some of the other areas. But I had a friend who had a gallery, but it was also his studio, right? And Aaron is the greatest man in the world. I mean, I hope he will come and visit, but Aaron is, he has a day job, but he's an artist. And he's like, I just got this space and I want to start showing people's works in it. So, all right, cool, I want to show my work in here. Aaron didn't have a staff. Aaron had a day job. Aaron and I liked to drink a little bit back then. So there was no structure, there was no organization. But this is kind of like one of the things I was talking about, like these doors that open up in the people that come into your life, you know, when you don't expect it. I had a full staff by the time that show opened up, just friends who volunteered to stay there to keep the doors open so the community could come in, right? I had PBS News come by and do an interview. I had schools from NYU come by and do it. This is my first exhibition ever, right? All through the power of the relationships that I've built and the friendships that I had. And people are just looking out for me. They're just like, hey, we think this is a great narrative. These are great works. We need to push it out, and it's important. And so we had great, powerful conversations. We had developers come by and say, well, if we don't build this here, then what does your city have? You know, what does Brooklyn have? And we had debates, and we had, and it's, it took a while to be confident enough to show my work publicly. But once I realized I was speaking of something that was relatable to the masses, I felt comfortable putting it out. If that answers your question. Yeah, all right, bro. Thank you.
Saka Fekus.
Oh.
What's going on, bro?
What's up, brother? How are you?
First, I want to say I'm very proud of you for representing us.
Of course, thank you.
In the art and the culture. Mm-hmm. And I really felt what you said about your pops wanting you to wear slacks in high school.
I mean, I'm becoming him now. You know?
Yeah, same deal.
Yeah.
I'm 35. My mom's still tripping by my braids.
Right.
And I see that you got an earring in.
Oh, forget about it. I heard that for years, brother, between you and me.
So,
yeah.
I want to ask, now that we're getting older, and then one day you're going to be an elder within our culture, have you thought about how that's going to reflect in your art?
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, they set the foundation for us, right? I wouldn't be able to be here making art the way I was making it if they didn't set this foundation for me and my family and my brothers and sisters to kind of explore a bit, right? They came here, they were ridiculed. My mother and my father didn't really speak the language. My mother graduated from Columbia. My dad, engineer, And so I want to continuously honor them, no matter what. Like, just honor the efforts that they put in, the fight that they had to fight to make my life a little bit easier, right? And I'm privileged enough to make art for a living, right? That wouldn't happen if they didn't do what they did, right? And so in my work, I'm hoping that I'm honoring them in that way. My mother is my biggest supporter. My father's my biggest supporter. They fly to Paris. They show up at all the shows, dressed in their slacks and stuff. You know what I mean? Not playing around, I hope to
with her Dior bag.
Oh, with her Dior bag now, yeah. She's not playing around with that. Yeah, facts. Yeah. Yep. And so I hope to just continue to spread that narrative, right? And my first major U.S. exhibition was called 50 Pounds, and it was about migration from Haiti, specifically to New York in the 60s and the 70s, right? And I was able to include the dress that my mother wore when she got on the plane for the first time. I was able to include photography from my grandfather who never showed his work publicly, pictures and notes and letters that were passed around. And they came, And my grandmother came, and she was like in a church dress and like the hat and everything, right? And it literally was, okay, I made it. That literally was a moment where I was like, I'm done. I made this. I don't need anything else. This is it, right? I didn't know that the commercial success would come after that, right? But that part of it was fulfilling enough, right? And so I hope I continue to carry it in my children. I hope they see the passion I put in what I do, and they continue to do that. I will never tell my kids they have to wear anything. Yeah.
This last question comes from our online audience, and they wanted to know what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned with brand partnerships?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I could only speak for my partnership with Dior at the moment, and as huge as Dior is, I think they're a little different than some of these other brands. You know, Mr. Dior was an art gallery owner. There's an appreciation for that form of art that maybe the others don't have as much, or maybe they do, right? But the biggest lesson was just be who you are and just lead with full confidence, because they're coming to you for a reason, right? They said it very honestly and openly to me in one of these meetings. We do this because we learned so much from you guys as artists, right? So we never worked with this material before, but now we know how to, right? And so just having that leverage and going in there with that full confidence is probably the most important thing. And what I learned, you know, there was this easiness and this calmness that came over me. I knew who Dior was, but when they were around, it was just another brand, right? And I think that having that confidence and that calm about it is going to carry you through, and they're going to see it and they're going to respect it. And also just having a good team around you that knows how to speak about the, you know, the dollars. That's important
part two.
Yeah.
That's part two. You got to invite us back.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Right.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for the invitation, too. I really enjoyed it.
So before I start the official outro, I have to say, ça passe. So thank you all for joining us here today. My name is Shakira Beddings. I'm the treasurer for ADAMA. It has been a pleasure having you all here. It's been a pleasure listening to this amazing conversation. I had the pleasure of meeting Patrick a couple of years ago when he did a talk during the Atlanta Art Fair. Big fan of his work and enjoyed following his journey. We truly appreciate all of you joining us here and being in community with us. We would like to invite you to, if you have not taken part in the exhibit yet, please take a look around. This is the African game featuring the work by Andrew Donsomu. I hope I didn't mess that up. It's really an exhibition for the fans of soccer and football with the World Cup coming to Atlanta. It will remain on view until July 8th. We encourage you to stop by. As you all know, this is our last salon for the summer. We cannot continue to do these great salon talks and these amazing exhibitions without the support of our community and donations. ADAMA is a 501c3 nonprofit, so please, if you are able to, use this QR code, make a donation. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.